Okay, welcome back to part 2 of our Alpha Models Porsche 911 GT3 RS build. So, start today with our clear coat. So we've got ProScale's 2K clear coat. We have our booth with a fresh filter in. We've got our window cracked open just a touch. We've got our storage box to our left to put our freshly 2K'd model in to keep dust off it. We've wetted the surface of the kitchen paper as well to stop any dust from taking back off if it lands on it. I'm going to full arm length glove my arm. Now, it looks like I'm going to be doing some Decaling, but I'm not. These are fairly cheap to buy. I actually bought these when I dabbled in 3D printing to keep anything off my skin, but they are a deal for 2K. So they're dirt cheap to buy, and all I do then is double glove, a nitrile glove on that left hand, and single glove, a nitrile glove on the right. So we've got ProScale Paint's 2K system. It's a clear coat activator and a thinner. So it's a 2-to-1 mix of clear to activator. So if we're saying put 10 milliliters of clear in that medicine cup now, we need 5 milliliters of activator. 2-to-1 mix, 2 parts clear, 1 part activator. So 2.5 mil in one pipette and another 2.5 makes 5 mil. So we'll then mix those together to get the chemical reaction started. Pop the lid nice and securely back on our activator. Of all the components, the activator is the most important one to keep the rim clean and the lid on properly because it is the one that is reactive to air. So we're going to mix that together thoroughly, and then we're going to throw the pipette away and never use again. Never reintroduce these pipettes into the bottles. You will contaminate your 2K system and ruin it. So throw that away. I've also got my we've also got the thinner as well, and we're going to thin this mix 5% to begin with. So if we have a 15 milliliters of combined clear and activator, 10 milliliters of that will be 1.5 mil. So 0.5 mil is 0.75. So we'll put 0.75 milliliters of thinner in there, and again we're going to mix it up thoroughly and throw that away. And the only paint I ever strain is 2K, just because you can get some crusty bits of activator around the rim of the bottle, and we don't want that going on our model. So I use one of our 190 paint strainers from ProScale to strain the paint through and into a fresh medicine cup. And again, we throw that medicine cup away. In fact, we use it as a cover for the old one. Stop any dust landing in there. So we're going to get our anti-static brush. Our model is securely mounted. I have to double check this because the worst thing can happen here is you either touch the model or drop it. We don't want to do either. So the Tamiya anti-static brush all around the model, get rid of any dust and debris from the nooks and crannies. And we've got our Iwata CR 0.5 mil airbrush as well, which is the one I solely use for 2K. Now, like I say, we've got our booth, fresh filter, that's on. It's a Bench Vente 300S, very good extractor. The window's cracked open a touch, just allow a little bit of flow of air through. I'm gloved up to the high heavens, all my skin's covered. I've got my full face 3M respirator on as well. I'm in the room on my own, and this is the best precautions you can take with 2K. If you take those precautions, using it as little as we do as modelers, which for most of us, less than once a month, you will be just fine. No problems at all. Just keep off your skin, don't breathe it in, and when it's off gassing, leave the room as well. And make sure you've got no pets, children, family members in the room with you when you're doing this. And keep dust to an absolute minimum. Dust is your enemy here. It will land. You will get nibs and all sorts of stuff landed on the surface. So the cleaner you keep your room and the less you disturb it, the better. So my room is normally hoovered the day before, put the fresh filter in the night before, lay all fresh paper out and put everything in position before we go anywhere near doing this. So anything that's airborne will settle, and obviously wetting the bottom of the booth. Anything that lands in that will then stick and not get airborne again. So the first coat of paint of clear coat, we go around, put a nice semi-gloss finish down. We're not trying to get a full gloss coat, just a nice wet semi-gloss will go down. This will do two things really. It'll start off our nice clear coat, and because we're laying down a wet coat, as this flashes off when we leave it for 5 minutes, it will go super tacky, and I mean stickier than a stick thing on sticks. And that will allow our subsequent wet coats to stick without running. That is how 2K works. You can see the depth of this colour starting to show through as well. It's going to look fantastic, this thing, it really is. So again, just paying attention to all the nooks and crannies, lights, grills, wheel arches, recesses, windows, just getting everywhere covered. Not trying to get a perfect gloss coat off this coat, just trying to get down a nice, even, semi-gloss coat. Obviously, anything else that needs clearing at the same time, like the spoiler, the mirrors, any bits of trim will all need doing as well. And then we'll pop it into our plastic box to the left for 5 minutes while it flashes off. After that 5 minutes, we're ready for our second coat. Same mix, same airbrush, exactly the same kind of coat. Just going to go around with a nice semi-wet coat. Again, not trying to get a perfect coat with this one. We're just laying down a nice wet coat, building our clear coat up for our final third coat. So as you can see, we've got a nice thick 2K coat here. Now our 2K is very forgiving. It's by far one of the most forgiving 2Ks I've used. You'll lay it on thinking, oh my god, that's really thick, and by the time it flashes off, it will look great. But obviously you still need to be aware of getting runs, and nobody wants the runs, do you? It makes such a mess. I've never had a run using our 2K yet. Touch wood. Never had a run using it. I have off others because they're quite thin. Ours it's almost magical. It really is. And once you've used it, you'll see exactly what I mean. It's very, very forgiving to use. So again, just making sure we get a nice even coat over all the body. That is the key with this coat. That is what we're trying to do. And obviously, if you are painting other parts, make sure you're doing them at the same time, so they get the same number of coats, the same flash off periods. And as you can see, I'm overlapping the wet coat as we go through. This is why I like the 0.5mm airbrush. The spray pattern is nice and wide. It covers really well. And for me, this Iwata CR 0.5 Revolution is the perfect brush. Right, so there's our second coat done. That's going to go back in the box for as long as it takes us to remix this paint. So we're going to pour back in a fresh medicine cup our mix. And the reason I'm doing this is so I can accurately see how much we have left. So after that, if we've got, say, 10 millilitres of paint, we're going to thin it another 10%. So 10% of 10 millilitres will be 1 milliliter. So we're going to pop in here 1 milliliter of thinner. Now, even just 10% more thinner will thin this drastically. I've tested and trialed all different thinning ratios, and for me, this is the optimum way to use our 2K. I've tried several different ways, several times, and every time, this is the best way to do it. 2 wet coats to begin with the 0.5mm of thinner, and then the next step is this, with the last coat, or coats as required, thinned 10%. You will notice drastically how much thinner this is now, and because it's thinner, it will self-level a bit better, spray a lot more, and will cover better as well. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to come a little bit further back from the model, just a touch more, and slow down the pass just a little bit, and just allow that beautiful pattern of that CR5 0.5mm airbrush to cover nicely. And this is where we want to start looking to get our flawless 2K. Now with 2K, you want a glass-like finish because that's how it's going to dry. Literally, how you finish up here is how this is going to dry. So if you can see orange peel, it's going to dry with orange peel. So put more paint down. If you put more clear coat over orange peel, it will self-level it out. If you can see any ripples or imperfections, as long as they're not runs, there's not too much paint, put a little bit more on there as well, and you'll see it will literally magically self-level before your eyes. Don't be afraid to put more on. I see so many people who've 2K'd and it's full of orange peel, and it's literally because you've not put enough down. That's all. So the best way to do it is what I'm doing here, is going around and putting a nice wet coat on. Ensure you're overlapping those edges, keep the edges wet, and then put it down for 30 seconds while you spray the other part of the kit, the wing mirrors, the spoiler, etc. And then pick it back up, and it should be like glass. If it's not perfectly smooth, it more than likely, 9 times out of 10, needs a little bit more clear coat. So you can see now, I'm just having a look around to see how we're looking. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's not looking bad. Now, prime areas for orange peel are the bottom of the sills and the front and back part of the windscreen and the bonnet, where the paint tends to not go down as thick. So I'll just pop that back in the box for probably 2 minutes while we paint these parts as well. So these parts have all been painted along the way. Now I did have the upper tier of the spoiler which was carboned, but I dropped it. Yes, I dropped it. So we're going to go a different look on this one. We're going to do it the black trim that the rest of the car comes in. Yes, I had it mounted exactly like I have this part on, with a little bit of pour plug of resin, and the pour plug of resin snapped off and dropped the spoiler on the bench. So yes, that is to one side ready to be stripped. So that's sat in our booth for about 90 seconds. As you can see, we've got a nice clear coat. I'm just looking around for anywhere that might need just a touch more. I've still got 2K in the airbrush. And again, a lot of people ask me this, can I keep it in there? Yes, you can. You can keep that in there for about an hour and it'll be fine. But you want to get this 2K as quick as possible while the 2K is fresh. And as you can see, we've got a brilliant finish there. Absolutely beautiful. If I see any imperfections, I will literally just put down another light coat of 2K just to finish it off. And I'm using the light in my booth just to have a good look around, checking for any slight imperfections. Like I say, if I do spot one, I'll put a bit more 2K down, but by the look of it, we're all good. Carefully put it back in your box. Be very careful, because that glove on that left hand will be unbelievably sticky now, and the amount of times the glove has snagged something and pulled it, be very careful. So there we go, there's our 2K done. Now we're on to one of my most hated parts, which is part cleanup. Thankfully on the resin parts, there is very little cleanup to do. There's a little bit of a seam around this roll cage. 2 roll cages in the kit. I had no idea which one to use, so I picked this one. It was the beefier of the two, and it just looked better. Now, thankfully, the way Alpha Models supplies their kits, 90% of the part on the pour stubs, where the resin's been cast, is ideal for holding them for painting. So we can just hold them with some clamps. Unfortunately, I had a little bit of damage on my kit, but again, thankfully with resin, it snaps off so cleanly that with a little dab of CA glue, and if you line the part up perfectly, it will fill the part. You'll never see the joint. It will just fill it absolutely perfect. So a little bit of CA glue in there. Again, a little bit of flash on the inside of the seats on these. Quite complicated seats on these. We've got several parts. We've got loads of decals. Yes, the interior is quite a lot of work on this kit. So yes, it's a very nice kit. So some parts are held on by clamps where we put them on the pour stubs. Some parts like these seats will drill a small hole into the mounting block where it can't be seen and pop a cocktail stick in there, like so. And others will have to super glue onto a stick as well. And the likes of the photo etch, we will cut it off and apply it to some reverse mounted Tamiya tape, which is like a double-sided tape now, ready for some photo etch primer and painting. So quite monotonous part. Thankfully not as monotonous as a plastic kit. The resin parts are really clean out the box. I do like this. And I just go through all the photo etch step by step, looking for what needs to come off and be painted. Not all the photo etch will require painting. Some of it you can leave it metallic. But for the most part, you can go through, figure it out, clean it all up, and get it mounted to the tape like I have here. Now, any grills like this, make sure they're mounted the right way. The amount of times I've painted the wrong side of the grill because I've looked at it wrong, double check everything before committing to paint. And like I say, some parts will need gluing to the resin beforehand, like these on, I think this is the radiators on the front. Are they radiators? Yeah, I think they are, aren't they? These need gluing in place before primer. So refer to instructions and real life pictures of the car. Now we're going to use Mr. Servicer 1500 black here. This is my preferred primer for any part I can't get into sand. And as you can see, we've got our ProScale Paints 3D printed bottle holder there, because it is a ProScale Paints bottle I've used for my thinned Mr. Servicer. You can get those paint holders from proscalepaints.uk. So this has been thinned about 60% with Mr. Leveling Thinner. We've got my Water HPC Plus now. I'm just going to go around and prime everything. I'm not going to show every part being primed. You definitely don't watching 38 minutes of me priming parts. Well, I don't think you do anyway. So I'm just going to show you very quickly a few parts being done, and then we'll skip through to the painting process. So probably one of my favourite processes this. I do enjoy painting stuff. Painting it like this with the Alpha models is what got me into batch painting everything on the plastic models. Because the part count's quite low on the Alpha model kits, it's worthwhile just painting everything in one go. And I've carried this process over to the plastic kit, and it works so well. It's such an efficient way of painting models that I really do urge you to try it. So clean everything up together, get everything off the sprues and cleaned up and sanded and cleaned up and mounted all together in one go, and that's all your cleanup done. And then prime it all in one go, and that's all your priming done. Then paint it all in one go, and that's all your painting done. And while the single stages may seem to take longer, you will finish things so much quicker than doing a section at a time. Trust me, it's a very efficient way of building models. Photo etch, we're going to prime in ProScale Paint's Photo Etch Primer. This is an etch primer that chemically etches itself to the metal. So it's an absolutely brilliant way of priming any metal work. We do a white metal one as well, and we won't do one specifically thinned for photo etch as well. So a great preparation for photo etch. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of photo etch on this. It's not the highest part count kit, but there is still quite a lot. We've got those pesky window wipers mounted up over there, and a bulldog clip as well. I know they are the scourge and worry of a lot of people building these kits, but once you've done one or two sets, they're not too bad to do. They're not too bad at all. Like I say, a couple of coats of the photo etch primer, getting all the angles, covers those well. Same on all the small parts and the grills. And our photo etch primer won't infill all the grills as well. Some primers will fill the grills in. Our photo etch primer is absolutely fantastic, and this stuff dries almost instantly. Again, it's almost magical. It just dries lightning fast. Like I say, a couple of light coats going all around. And there we go. That's that done. Job done. And onto these window wipers. And these things are a pain. I used to hate building them. Hated building them. I don't mind building them now. They're a piece of cake. They really are easy. There's 3 or 4 steps. A decent photo etch bender or pliers is essential for them. I hate gluing them in place. Just the pain in the backside to glue in place on the model. They are the bane of my life. Everything else on the Porsche, all this black trim is literally black. It's not carbon, thank God, because if it was, there'd be a lot of it. So we're just going to paint this in Mr. Surfacer 1500 black primer to begin with, as well as a lot of the interior parts as well. Those photo etch parts from earlier, I've just primed Mr. Surfacer black. We won't be handling them, so there's no need for the etch primer. And it's a case going around all the parts. So you tend to end up with several parts in different colours. So I usually end up with the photo etch grey primer, Mr. Surfacer 1500 black, and occasionally Tamiya grey primer as well. And the reason I don't use ProScale primer is because it's a microfiller. It does require sanding, and to get all the nooks and crannies, these interior parts, seats, vents and that, it's impossible to do. So I use a different type of primer for these areas. So again, some nice painting going on here. So this is ProScale Paint's Napa Black. This is our leather colour, one of my favourites. I'm just going around all the interior parts that I want in Napa Black and painting them that colour. All the exterior trim, we're going to paint in ProScale Paint's Deep Black. And then we're going to semi-gloss clear that later on. But for now, we're just going to work our way around all the interior parts and get them black. Now, I'm going to do a 2-tone on this, because I've been trialing and testing a paint. If you remember on the Audi, I had a textured grey, and we're going to do a similar thing on this as well. So nothing says faith in your products and testing it on your own model. So I am the guinea pig here. So that's what we're going to do. On the interior roll cage, we're going with GX2 gloss black. I wanted a nice gloss black roll cage. So a couple of light coats of this building it up, and then some heavier coats will give us a nice gloss black finish. And then on our brakes, because they're carbon ceramic, we've got the ProScale carbon ceramic grey on this one. So the grey's new to the range, only been there for a month or so. We've got a black and a grey, and I'll be honest, I think I prefer the grey. I think carbon ceramic does tend to vary in colour from car to car. So obviously look at real life references, but most of the road going cars seem to have this grey, and I think the motorsport ones have the darker colour. That's what I can see looking around anyway. Obviously it's a personal preference, either way will do, but a new range, new colour to the range, and it works really, really well. It's a nice pigmented with large pigments to give that carbon ceramic look. Looks really good. And for the brakes, we're going with brake caliper yellow. Didn't know which colour to go with this. Red wasn't going to go with the pink. I didn't want to go boring with black or silver, so I thought, you know what, yellow. I think yellow is pretty safe. I think yellow calipers are the colour for the carbon ceramic brakes anyway on Porsche. I think they kind of colour code them with the calipers, the brake discs. Obviously, I'm guessing you can spec whichever colour you want. But I think generally the carbon ceramic discs get the yellow calipers anyway. And again, a couple of light coats on this. Builds up absolutely beautiful. These will be decaled and clear coated later on. Same on the back ones as well. There we go. So decals, the paint's dry now, probably dry for a couple of hours. The beauty of lacquer paint, it dries lightning fast. We've got some Porsche decals to go on the calipers. So we're going to put one of each of these. They're absolutely tiny. They really are tiny. We're going to get those in place and lined up. Like so. And then on the seats, we've got the stitching. These are very tricky to do, so take your time here. I did them on the PZY Porsche. They are well worth doing. They look really good when done. So you're going to have to set these in place all around the edge of the car seat and the dashboard and the door cards as well. Pick the appropriate colour you want. You get all sorts of colours in the kit. We're going with white stitching on black seats. So it's a case of getting the decal in place, normal decal setting procedure, get all the moisture out from behind and set it in place with UMP normal decal solutions. And then once we've got everything set and dry and in place and we're happy with it, we're going to matte coat the seat to dull back the shininess of the decal and try and make it look as realistic as stitching as possible. It's a nice touch and I'm glad it's there. It does work well. It is a bit tedious to do and it will test your decaling skills. They need some very careful manipulation in place, but it looks really, really good when done. So persevere. We've also got some carbon for the back of the seat as well. A GT3 logo for the headrest on one of both seats as well. And we've got some carbon for those insets there on the middle of the seat, harness holes as well. So loads of decals on the seat. So just take your time here, working your way around. It's well worth doing. The seats do look absolutely fantastic when they're done. There we go. Just a little bit of decal solutions to get that in place. And make sure everything is in final position before you commit to leaving it. There's a few times I come back and the decal's been a little bit wonky and you're like, crap, I've left it in the wrong place. And like I say, there's some little carbon insets for these parts at the top. And then there's a big carbon decal for the back. Now, I did one of these in one piece and the other one I cut into three. So I left the center pieces and cut two edges off. And I think cutting it was the way to go. It just seemed to lay down a bit easier. They're quite a complex shape on the back. So trying to get it to lay in place was a little bit difficult as one piece. They are cut to try and help you. But I think separating them to three separate pieces is definitely beneficial overall in the build. I just think it lays things in place properly. But a nice finishing touch. And again, a little bit of heat. Heat is your friend with decals. It will help you set them in place. These heat guns are about £12–15 off Amazon. Absolutely brilliant. They help you dry paint as well if you're in a rush trying to dry things quick. And for setting decals like this, it just really helps them conform in place. UMP normal decal solution again. I think I put a little bit of strong on this as well. And using the moist cotton bud just to help conform all the edges of the decal around the seat. Like I say, great looking seats these. Once they're all carboned up and matted back, and we're going to add our textured Alcantara center, these are going to look absolutely fabulous. So, like I say, tedious, but well worth the time. And the only annoying thing is you won't really see the interior from outside when it's done. So I think it's more a case, just enjoy the process. Use it as a skill builder in getting part of this, because these are difficult to do. The stitching on the steering wheel as well, that's how intense this kit is, as well as a center marker on the top of it as well. So yeah, there's all stitching for the inside, so that requires some careful manipulation getting all that in place as well. So it's a really nice interior on this car. It does look really good, but like I say, it's just a real shame you don't actually get to see it from the exterior. But it's the journey, isn't it? That is the part of the process of this. Right then, now the seat centers, we're going to go in place with Tamiya Craft Bond. Now, because I've been testing this product, this is our new texture paints from ProScale. I don't have any footage of me showing them. You will see these for the first time being used properly on the Ford Escort build, which is probably going to come next. I have the Camaro to do in the Escort. I think I'm going to bump the Escort ahead of the Camaro just because it's a new kit. So this was all filmed off camera. This is basically a textured material added to our paint, so I can texture any of our paint range. This is grey because I wanted black and grey on this. We've got a primary colour set, well, range out now of black, blue, grey, yellow and red, and I will add the entire range of interior colours as textured options over the next coming weeks. I've got a lot of paints to do. They will be added. But you will see them being used properly for the first time on the Escort build, because those seats look phenomenal on that. If you see my social media, you will have seen that build. So like I say, a bit of a test on this one. It's a little bit of R&D. So while you're going to see the finished result, you're not going to see the process just yet. Obviously, I'm about a month ahead to where we are now with build, so we're a little bit backwards in time. Steering wheel, I've got the shifter paddles in and the column in as well now, so they're all glued in place again with the craft bond. And then a little bit of crap on our dashboard, which again has all been decaled up as well with the instruments and the stitching too. They're looking really good. Like I say, real nice interior on this, looks really, really good. And then in the booth, we've got some Mr. Hobby satin clear. I forget the code. Is it GX113? I think 3 is a satin, or is it 4? I forget now. But anyway, it's a satin clear. This has been decanted from a spray can, because I could only get a spray can at one point. So yes, it's been thinned about 50-60% with Mr. Hobby leveling thinner. I'm just going to apply a nice light coat. So these were painted in Mr. Surface 1500 black, and then ProScale deep black to get that real nice deep black colour to it. And we're just going to satin coat it back, and it'll just give us a nice even satin coat all over, and just make it pop and look good. So like I said, I'm not sure what it's made off on a Porsche. Is it like a composite? I don't know. There's no carbon weave on the real car, so I don't know. Is it just plastic? I'm not sure actually on the real car. We're doing the seats as well. This is actually being dual coated with Testa's dual coat. I want a nice matte leather finish on the interior. So I think it's been thinned. Yeah, it has. About 50% with Mr. Hobby Rapid Thinner. I'm just putting a couple of light coats down all over to give us a nice matte finish. And then skipping ahead, we're now on to polishing the body. So we're going to flat all the body back. It's been drying for about a week. I think it was a bit longer on this one actually, because I had other stuff on the go. But we've got our Trizac pads 6 and 8000, and we're going to go around the entire body and just flat it back. And 2 reasons. Number one, to get the 2K to look a bit thinner, because it's better sanded back and polished up. Always looks a bit more realistic. And get any imperfections that may have landed in the surface of dust, hair, any debris that may have landed, been floating around in the air. This will help tone it down and get rid of it. So go all around first with the 6000, then the 8000, and then we're going to polish it all up as well. So the 6 and the 8 going all around, just gently. Be aware of any raised areas or corners where the paint's inherently thinner. It is very easy to burn through, so just take your time. I've got a little bit of washing up liquid, Dawn dish soap detergent, wherever you call it where you're from, in the water as well to give us a little bit of lubricant. We're rinsing off the pad every now and then just to keep it nice and clean. Just going over the entire surface, just dulling back that 2K finish just a little bit. Nothing drastic, just a little bit. So once we've gone through both the 6 and 8000 Trizac pads, I've got my blanket on because it's a bit cold. Yes, I look like a, what was it Mark called me? A Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Yes, thank you, Mark. We've got our Menzona compounds here. So this is a medium cut, 2500. And I'm going to plan it by hand just so it doesn't flick everywhere off this. And then we've got our Zoom On polishing compounds that we sell over at ProScale Paints on my Proxxon 50 EF rotary tool. And we're going to go around and polish it all off. Now, be very careful here of 2 things. Number one, don't burn through any raised areas or corners. It is very, very easy to do. And number two, don't catch that yellow part of the tool and any part of the body, because that yellow part is very hard plastic and it will chip the paint. Ask me how I know. Yes, I have chip painted with this before, so I'm very wary and gun shy of it. So just take your time. Now I tend to do a couple of passes on each part. So I tend to go up and down on one bit and then side to side again, and then all around the edges, just very carefully. And on all the edge parts like these window trims and what have you, I just go over it quickly. I don't dwell on there, because the last thing we want to do now is burn through a 2K and ruin all our hard work. Now, I've left this little bit of footage in just to show the first full pass of the top of this, to show just how much I polish it. Now, the compound sponge we've got here is the coarse one. The green is coarse, blue is medium, red is fine. And we're going to apply that to the coarser, medium and fine polishes we've got. So make sure you have enough polish on there, because you don't want the pad running dry. And be aware that the softer the compound on the sponge, the more the sponge compresses as well. So the green one's quite tough and takes quite a bit to compress, whereas the red one is very soft and will fully compress with ease. So just be careful on any edges, especially on cars like this. I've got loads of little nooks and crannies and bits sticking out, because the last thing we want to do now is ruin all our hard work and chip paint or burn through, because yeah, you don't want to ruin it, because it's very hard to come back from that. So just take your time, concentrate on what you're doing. I'm chatting to you guys there while I'm live one morning, which is the worst thing in the world to do. I can tell I am, because I'm stopping while I'm doing it. I can see my hand motion while I'm talking, answering questions. Yeah, there we go. So make sure you concentrate when you're doing this. There's 2 stages on car building where I would always say make sure you've got full concentration, and that is polishing them like this, and we're putting clear parts in. They're the 2 parts I muck up when I'm either chatting to somebody or distracted by something. So always make sure this has got your full attention, especially on bits like this where I'm putting that tool inside those little recesses. Just be very careful. And if you're not confident, you can hand polish. It takes twice as long. I don't think it gives us good results. And I was stubborn for many years. I refused to use these polishing pads for many years, and I really regret it. You can get these pads elsewhere, but from what I've used, the Zoom on ones we sell are far better quality and last a lot longer. Each set of these, I'm getting 6+ cars easily, and even then I don't need to replace them. They're very good, and they're cheap as well. So I don't even bother cleaning them. I just put them back in the bag and take them back out next time. They are velcroed to the yellow part of the tool, so they're quick to change, and it's a very efficient and productive way of polishing. This is a coarse compound sponge and a medium to coarse compound polish, and the shine we get back off this, just off that alone, is phenomenal. It really is. And we're going to do exactly the same again, all down the sides, to get all the sides polished up. And then, as we've done here, we come back with the medium compound sponge and our medium compound polish as well, and do exactly the same again. You can see how much softer that blue sponge is compared to the green one. We're just going to go around exactly the same again, exactly the same process, polishing up everywhere, just being nice and careful and taking your time. And then once that's done, we polish it up, and each and every time the shine is getting better and better. Now, we use Manzana compounds for the first 2 stages, and the last one, I just use good old Autoglim Super Resin Polish. It's a well-known, well-respected brand, and I think it just gives a good finish. And the main reason I do use it is there are filling properties of the Autoglim that does help infill any imperfections. It's only temporary, but it does work. And we just use the red compound sponge on the Autoglim, exactly the same as we did for the others. We're thoroughly cleaning all the resin, all the polish residue out of the panel lines now, using my cheap Fenger airbrush with water in. And for the love of God, make sure it is water you put in the airbrush. You don't pick up lacquer thinner by accident. Just put water through and jet washing all the panels to get rid of any polish residue. Quite often using a toothbrush alone doesn't cut it, and it will stay in there, and it's a pain in the butt. It really is. So we're going to go all around, all nooks and crannies. Like I say, just make sure it is water you're putting on the airbrush. Any other chemicals, put out of the way. Once you're happy and you're done, cut to wear and just use that to blow off all the excess water, and then we can dry the rest with a nice clean piece of tissue and then give it a good polish up with a nice glasses cleaning cloth at the end. And there we go, all polished up. What would take 3 hours by hand took less than an hour, I think, using the rotary tools. And as you can see, once it's polished up with a nice glasses cleaning cloth here, the shine is beautiful. Really is nice. Polishing it back has thinned the 2K a bit, makes it look a bit more realistic. That is something that's definitely subjective. I think 2K looks fine once it's polished. Unpolished, it can look a bit thick. I think once polished up, it looks fine. And I've never once complained about my car being too shiny, so I want my model cars to be shiny too. And there we go. That's all that polished up. Wheels, we painted these in our platin silver last time, and now I've got the centre hubs to go in. So they're just glued in with a little bit of CA glue, like so. A little bit of Bob Smith's gold on each one, get them all in place. I did the hubs just in black. I left them black as a bit of contrast, and then we've got some Porsche decals to go in the centre as well. There we go. Just set all those in place. And then with the tyres in place now, make sure you get the right tyres on the right wheels. And put the side that has the core or the mold plugs on the inside as well. So you got the fresher tyre on the outside. I'm going to say, as I always do, I really wish Alfa models would put tyre markings on the tyres. They don't, and it's a real shame. But either way, these wheels look beautiful. A great contrast on the colours as well. Very nice. And now we can assemble our brakes. So we're going to glue in our photo etch discs. Now, quite often with Alfa models, they give you a front and back disc for the resin. Now, in my experience, quite often with the back one on, the caliper won't go on. So I would suggest putting one side on and then test fit the caliper. And if it's tight, don't put the back one on because it won't fit. It literally won't fit over the caliper. So I will paint both just in case. And where I've cut it off the locator point, if you put one edge of the caliper on there, it will hide that and you won't see it. The hubs are handed left and right and front and back, so refer to instructions, make sure you get the right ones, and then you can start gluing things in place. Do not glue anything together on an Alfa model kit without confirming that it fits, otherwise it will bite you in the backside big time. But the brake assembly is pretty simple. Photo etch disc to disc, resin disc, and then caliper to hub, and then the disc to the hub as well with some CA glue. And please ensure that the wheel fits through before the CA glue dries. You can use that to line it up. And there we go. There's part 2 done. We'll be back with part 3 very soon. Don't forget there is a Patreon to get early access to all these videos. You can get added to a supporter chat group, a supporter Facebook group. There's a Sunday bench update, and you also get 10% off pro scale paints using the applicable tiers. Thanks for watching today. Please leave a comment, give the video a thumbs up, and a huge thanks to all my patrons whose names are going to flash up on screen. Now, take care everyone. Bye bye.